I was talking with one of my relatives yesterday, and we were just having one of our usual discussions about how the cost of living is going up, and whether that has to do with food or rent or any of these other services that people need to survive. And one of the things he said that I thought was really interesting was that because of how high the cost of fast food and some of these sit-in restaurants have become, where they're almost synonymous with each other, right, about the same price just to get a meal, they have effectively priced themselves out of the market. So I did a video a few days ago about how Denny's is going to be closing down close to 180 restaurants, and it's awful for the people that work there because they don't know what day is their last day. As I said in the video, people are not being told if their location is closing. They're doing it based off of factors that are not immediately known to the people that work at those particular ones that are going to be gotten rid of. But we went into a Denny's the other day, just because we've both been talking about this story since it dropped. And this of course is not hard data. I'm speaking entirely from an autobiographical standpoint, just like something I see, right? I go in there and there's about 4 other pairs of people eating, like altogether about 4 customers, if you think of it in like groups being the equivalent of one customer. 4 tables, I guess I should say, have like people there eating something. And this was something we discussed of how, is it that people are so lazy that they just don't feel like sitting down somewhere? We both agreed it wasn't, because people they'll go to a fast food place, they have the to go or here, right, the 2 options of whether you want to eat something there or take it with you. And a lot of people will sit in there and eat their food and get on their phone and do all the other things that they could theoretically do at a sit down restaurant. So what we came to the conclusion of was that all of these different stores and restaurants, whether they be fast food or somewhere that you go and sit down in, are charging so much that they are putting themselves out of business. See, the thing about people is that sometimes we can be lazy, sometimes we don't feel like cooking, sometimes we have whatever series of vices that affect us in different ways depending on who we are. But the one thing that we're pretty consistent about knowing is that we have options. So a person who maybe doesn't cook, like I would never call myself a cook or being great at cooking. There's a few things I can put together if I have instructions, but a person like myself who maybe is not the best at cooking is going to look at the for example, $16 burger at Burger King or the $12 combo meal at McDonald's and say, well, hell, I can go to the market and get, I think it's like 8 bowls of soup, which if I eat 4 of those a day, I'm full. But you can get about 8 of those for $10. You can get a larger quantity of food for the same price, if not cheaper, than one meal at some of these damn restaurants. And this business model is actually, see, what's sad about these companies is no matter how stupid they act and just ridiculous they are in terms of pricing things, ridiculously, it's always going to hurt the guy at the bottom first, right? So the consumers are going to have food that they can't afford to buy, so they don't bother with it. But then the people that work at these places are basically seeing themselves punished for decisions that they had nothing to do with, right? So I talk about how at my job, it used to be that you'd have about 3, 4, 5 managers on hand at once. And all of these people are getting these 8-hour shifts, 40 hours a week, right? With the full-time shifts that they should give all their employees, honestly, but they want to pretend they're so poor, these billion-dollar corporations. But they went from giving these 5 to 4 people a day 8-hour shifts that were usually consecutive, like on top of each other. So now I go into my job and I see maybe 2 managers, at most 3. And this is extremely bare bones. I've gone sometimes a week or 2 weeks without seeing certain managers because they're barely getting used now. They're cutting them back. And And again, this is all done to try and to have the owner of the place save on some money, right? But it's like putting a band-aid on a gaping, bleeding wound. You know, it's a nice way for them in the short term to think they're like still going to make a profit from this overpriced crap. But in the long term, they're going to see what has been happening, which is more and more people keep quitting. They hire more people, and no matter how much they try to dodge paying us, 40 hours a week or overtime or whatever, they're still going to see a loss in profits because people are simply not willing to pay these crazy prices for the basic necessity of food when they know they have alternatives that don't cost anywhere near as much money. Again, you can go to a fast food place now and be charged. That's why I brought up the Burger King example. I went there, and I'd been to Burger King in like 2 or 3 years, and that used to be probably my favorite fast food place to go to eat. But I went there, and I ordered a burger, some fries, the combo meal, $16. Again, I go to the market, I can get 4 bags of bread for about $12. So those big containers of bread, you can get about 12 containers of soup for 16. I mean, it's insane to me that they charge these prices. The consumer reacts by saying, you know what, I'm not going to bother with this. It's too much money. And their response is not, hey, maybe we need to turn this down, right? Nope. Just keep cutting more hours of the people that make it to our stupid company can even work or exist in the first place. So it's going to, I'm thinking that over the next couple of years, you're going to see record losses of sales for these fast food places. And honestly, they deserve it. They became overconfident in terms of when a company gets to a certain amount of money and assumes everyone is just going to put up with whatever crap gets thrown their way. It's nice to see them fall. I just wish that the employees at the bottom didn't have to take the first nosedive because, again, they did nothing wrong. But I just thought his wording was so interesting that these fast food places, these sit-in restaurants, have priced themselves out of the market. Sure, you might see a few when you drive down somewhere, but if you go inside, if you choose to every week or every 2 weeks treat yourself to some meal that costs $20, right? Go in there and look and see how many people are sitting there as well. Because the last few times I've been in most of these places, other than maybe Norm's, it's been a single digit. It's like, 2 people here or 2 tables full, 4 tables full. People are just not eating this stuff as much as they used to. And it's going to keep getting worse until they actually address these price increases and stop them. But I think they're going to have to fall and fail very hard before that happens.